Welcome back to the Winner Circle, everybody. I am here today with Theresa from SymphonyAI. They have just cleaned up in the AI Excellence Awards, having been made a finalist last year. This year, they have won 3 awards in the AI categories under products. So, Theresa, congratulations on all the wins and all the success you're having.
Hey, thank you so much. This has been a great cap to a great year for us, and it's a crowded year with AI because it seems like every company is an AI company, and so I think to be able to be acknowledged for actual operational AI and what we're doing um, at scale and at our customer sites around the world, I think is a real coup to our team, and we're so proud. For
Yeah.
us.
When we first started the conversation before we started recording, I said, you guys are actually putting it to work. You're putting AI to work. So, that's what I really loved about seeing what your nominations were about and what the wins were for, is you're really building that foundation that allows enterprises to really kind of sensibly put AI to work. So before we get too into the guts of all the pieces of it, walk us through kind of Symphony AI and kind of what the company's all about.
Yeah, so we are a pure play AI company. We're private. We're running at about 500 million in revenue across 40 countries, 2,000 customers around the world. The top 25 CPG companies in the world use us. The top 30 banks in the world use us. Very large consumer product manufacturing companies use us. Things that you and I drink and eat every day use us. And so this is really AI at scale. And what makes that possible at Symphony is we call ourselves a vertical AI company. And that's not a marketing term. That's a very specific term. Most AI that enterprise use is horizontal AI. So what that means is you bring in a platform or you bring in a solution and you spend the first 9 months, maybe more, training their agents and their models on your industry and on your company. We come in with our different product platforms in retail, in financial services, and in manufacturing, and in enterprise IT, and in media. And we already have prepackaged the agents that understand your use cases, the ontologies that understand how your industry works, and the models that are already trained on data that is specific to your industry. So it's not trained on the internet. It's not trained on consumers. Knowledge is trained on how a manufacturing plant works. It's trained on how a bank works or a grocery or convenience store works. And that's why we can stand up our solutions inside 6 weeks and start running your use cases and not wait the 9 months for uh, you to train us up on that.
Yeah, and you guys won for this Eureka platform. And from what I was reading, it's kind of 3 layered, where you have kind of this kind of knowledge graph, kind of the context of everything. And then you have this orchestration layer. And then you also put it through governance, which makes total sense to me, because you think about, you have the knowledge, you have how you're supposed to do things, right? And then you have this cop on the side going, are they doing it the right way? And everything's kind of going through. That's walk us through what a typical deployment looks like for Eureka, say, an industrial plant.
Yeah. Well, let me talk about Eureka, and then I'll give examples of how that plays out in our different products in the different industries. So you're absolutely right, Russ. The foundation of our Eureka technology is threefold. First, it's there's shared context. So we build a domain knowledge graph for every vertical. It's a map for how a business in that industry actually works. So you don't have to teach us that a brand has SKUs and a SKU is associated in a store with shelves and and there's sub SKUs, et cetera. We are come in understanding that. And now we just need to map it from your data to our knowledge graph. So no training on that. The second sort of foundation for us with Eureka is that we have a adaptive orchestration. So we assign the right AI tool for the right process that you're trying to do. So if you we'll use a predictive model if we're trying to do detection in your workflow. We will use a language model when you need explanation. So if you're using a copilot for us and you're querying, we'll use a language model. We'll use rules-based logic when you need an audit trail. What did you do? Why did you do it? Explain that to me. So it's not one set of technology. It's sort of adapted to the workflow that you're trying to build for your company. And the third, you put it correctly, is this governance from day one. So many of our customers are very large banks in highly regulated industry. So every decision point is logged. What went in, what model ran, what action was taken, what happened. That audit trail is exactly what makes our AI trustworthy. And what's great is at Symphony, we actually built that specifically for our financials, that around that use case for our financial services customers. But if you're a chief merchant at a grocery store, you get that same level of transparency for your use cases. And maybe not for the same regulatory reasons, but that simple explanation of why our agents and why our AI decisioning layer made decisions is great for you as well. So how that works in our different products in our industrial manufacturing business unit, we have a product called Iris Foundry. And Iris will go in and we do everything from predictive asset management in large CPG companies, for oil and gas companies, for mining and chemical companies. We do process optimization for them. We do connected worker, frontline worker management for them. So a use case of what we can do, imagine you have a bottle, you have a line and it's it's a bottling line and you get there's a worn cap seal and you get an alert from our system. Hey, there's a worn part. You get a second agent that will say, oh, okay, let's see if that part is in inventory right now, just to see if we have it. It is a work order, a third agentic AI workflow will be created. A work order will be created to order that part. And a fourth agent will look, hey, there's a 45-minute window between production runs on this bottle fill line. Let's schedule a maintenance window in that 45 minutes. And the plant manager will actually get that work order in Microsoft Teams and to say, it's been generated, here's the new schedule. And that all happens in 10 minutes. And, previously what would have happened is you get an alert, someone will have to go down, do a root cause analysis. Is this the problem? What is the problem? Go look at systems to see, is there a part in the, in inventory, and then create the work order themselves in another system, and then goes check in a third system or a dashboard. When should we schedule this? All of that is a day, 2 days of work, we're doing that within 10 minutes of it. And that's true orchestrated agentic AI at work.
Yeah, and I think I remember reading in the nomination that you guys kind of branded it, which makes perfect sense of this perceive, reason, act, which it gives that agent not the autonomy, but at least a path to go find a solution to what the problem is, which is really interesting because as you get into AI, in my experiences with it, and I've got quite a bit now. Um, it'll run down a path of its own, and without kind of that governance and without kind of the guardrails, it'll go off into a weird area before you know it because it makes an assumption that is wrong.
Yeah. So what's interesting too about, AI and what differentiates it, from orchestrated AI, of course, is that it's learning, and ours also always has human in the loop of it. And you have a tolerance threshold, if you will, with Eureka for how much human in the loop do you want. So another example of Eureka at work is with Symphony Risk Intelligence, which is our platform in financial services. It helps level 1, level 2, level 3 investigators do things like transaction monitoring, sanctions monitoring, know your customers, etc. And a typical investigation of a level 1 or a level 2 alert, hey, take a look at this. There's something that maybe we should take a look at, might take manually, even with the systems that have been in place in banking for the last 15 years, 200 minutes. With AI, we'll reduce that down to by 60, 70% easily. But back to the human in the loop part, most companies, and banks included, they might at the beginning when they first use us put that human in the loop kind of slider very high. So every time we flag something and we make a recommendation about what to do with that alert and that flag, a human will always be alerted to look at that alert, look at the recommendation and say yes or no. Do we accept that? And what we find over time is that as companies get more comfortable with the AI, you can lower that threshold, because when you find that 100% of the time the human agrees with what the AI has decided, you get more comfortable with its ability to act on your behalf. And in the background, the AI, because it's your data, it's learning as well. So if a human is overriding a decision, it's noting that, saying, okay, that was not the right decision, or here's a nuance to that decision. I'll note that for the next time with that same set of parameters.
The thing I also read in your nomination was all about AI sovereignty, and that seems to be kind of one of those terms that is popping up almost everywhere now. Walk us through what AI sovereignty means and kind of why it's so important when you're kind of deploying in an enterprise, and especially in these kind of regulated or mission critical environments like banks and
Yeah.
healthcare.
Yeah, exactly. I think, first of all, AI sovereignty will mean something different to somebody depending on the context. At the 35,000-foot level, some people will interpret AI sovereignty to where your data centers geographically. To when I talk about AI sovereignty, I really mean who controls and who owns your data. So when you think back, literally the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years, in terms of what is happening to your data in the world of SaaS, we all put our data on our SaaS platforms. And if you think about really what happened is, your data is sitting on a SaaS platform, and you are running the same workflows that your competitors are. So you're not getting anything new or different you're not doing anything new or different than your competitors. You're sort of renting a platform. You're putting your data on there, and there's nothing kind of new and accelerated that you're doing. And then there was sort of this movement of, okay, so let's customize the workflow. So yes, it may still be SaaS or hosted privately, but the workflows may change now. We're going to customize those workflows deeply and intensely for your companies. And I think with AI now, you can see that you can literally with AI mimic workflows and create workflows from public data sources in an hour, maybe in minutes, depending on how complicated the workflow is. What we're finding that that companies really want is the ability to find a wedge that is truly competitive. And where that wedge really is you should own your data in an AI environment, whether that's in a private tenant or hosted on-prem. And so the AI models are running just on your data, learning just on your data. And our industrial business unit, for example, we take it even one step further. We tell you that we won't train our models on your data unless you give us permission to do that. And so this now is truly your IP. This is truly sovereign AI data that you own. And that AI is learning on your own data that no one else has in your own custom environment that no one else has in your own specific workflows that no one else has. And it's learning and it's compounding every day. And I think that's really will create that competitive moat, that wedge that most companies are looking for, because you're not renting the platform, you're not using the same workflows that everyone else has, and no one else can mimic your workflows, and it's all yours. And we're not teaching other companies your workflows or about your data. It truly is all yours. And I think that's a really interesting component to what's happening in the market right now.
You're really on the front line of these enterprises deploying as they kind of are taking your templates and these models and applying them to their business. As you're going in to talk to these, executive CIOs, CEOs, CFOs, what's kind of the biggest misconception they have when they first approach AI? I think this is the year where they're actually implementing. Last year was kind of investigate and test.
Yeah.
This year is really implement. So what do you think they're misconceiving about, kind of how they're even going into it?
I um I think there is I don't know if it's a misconception, but uh, I think companies underestimate the what it takes to scale AI. So what it takes to be successful in a pilot in one plant on one fill line is and one process optimization use case is very, very different than what it takes to be successful in 200 plants. And each plant has 20 fill lines. And there are now just not one process optimization use case. There's 10 different flavors of it, and throw in 5 different predictive asset management use cases on top of that. And each plant, even though it's the same company, has totally different configurations of their equipment and of their environment and of their data stores, et cetera. So I think they underestimate what it takes to scale. And That's number one. And I think for us, what we have found for our customers is the foundation of what it takes to scale is the normalization of your data across all of these plants. And so that you are using those same ontologies and the same way of thinking about the data across all 153 plants without it turning into a 5-year data normalization, data mining exercise of that, because you want the AI to start acting on your behalf. You want to get there very quickly. And so how do you do that?
Yeah, the only thing that I've seen that kind of relates to CEOs when they're faced with this is a lot of them have outsourced customer service to another country.
Yeah.
And you're effectively doing the same thing. You're outsourcing your processes. And I know when I went through that for a service provider, it was very painful. It was painful because you had to document every process that you had never documented before. And then it was painful because you never really documented them well enough. And the new people learning them didn't have the context and everything else. They would over time. But it is a challenge. And so I think what you guys are doing by organizing it like this is really, really smart. You've got the platform to do it. So Theresa, congratulations on all the success and all the business success as well, not just the awards, right? But
Thank you so
great
much.
growth. It's an amazing story.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Russ.